Misunderstandings, like silent thieves, can steal happiness from under our noses. When fate demands a price, it's often too late to pay. This is a true story, raw and drenched in tears, about love, loss, and the fragile threads that hold a family together. 2 years into our marriage, my husband, Tom, brought up the idea of moving his mom in with us. He wanted to care for her in her golden years, to give back a fraction of what she'd sacrificed for him. Tom lost his dad when he was just a kid, and his mom, Clara, became his rock. She raised him single-handedly, scraping by to put him through college. Hardship and heartache didn't just describe her life, they defined it. I didn't hesitate. I nodded and got to work fixing up the guest room, the one with the south-facing balcony that caught the morning sun. It was perfect for her to soak up the warmth or maybe tend to a few potted flowers. Tom stood in that sunlit room, quiet for a moment, then scooped me up in his arms, spinning me around until I squealed and begged to be let down. "Let's go get Mom," he grinned, his eyes sparkling with gratitude. Tom was a big guy, broad-shouldered and steady. I loved tucking myself against his chest, feeling like he could scoop up my petite frame and tuck me into his coat pocket. Whenever we bickered and got stuck in a standoff, he'd hoist me over his shoulder and spin me until I was dizzy. Laughing and begging for mercy. That happy fear, that reckless joy, it was addictive. But Clara's old-school, small-town habits didn't mesh easily with our city life. I loved filling the living room with fresh flowers, roses, lilies, whatever caught my eye at the market. Clara couldn't hold her tongue for long. "You kids waste money," she'd mutter. "Flowers? Can't eat those." I'd smile and say, "Mom, flowers brighten the house, lift everyone's mood." She'd grumble under her breath, and Tom would jump in, chuckling, "Mom, city folks do things differently. You'll get used to it." She'd go quiet, but every time I came home with a bouquet, she'd ask how much I spent. I'd tell her, and she'd cluck her tongue, louder each time. Once, after I hauled in bags from a shopping trip, she quizzed me on every item's price. I answered honestly, and her clucks turned into full-on sighs. Tom pinched my nose playfully and whispered, "Dummy, just fudge the numbers next time." Our happy home started humming with quiet discord. Clara's biggest gripe was Tom cooking breakfast. To her, a man in the kitchen, fussing over eggs and toast for his wife, was downright unnatural. At the breakfast table, her face would cloud over, and I'd pretend not to notice. She'd clatter her dishes, her silent protest echoing through the room. I taught dance at the local youth center, and after hours of leaping and twirling, I cherished my mornings curled up in bed. I wasn't about to give that up. So I ignored her disapproval. When Clara pitched in with chores, it often made more work for me. She refused to use dish soap, insisting water was enough. To save her pride, I'd sneak in and rewash the dishes. One night, she caught me at the sink, scrubbing a bowl she'd cleaned. She stormed to her room, slammed the door, and sobbed loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Tom was caught in the middle. That night, he didn't speak to me. I tried to coax him, pouting and teasing, but he brushed me off. Frustrated, I snapped, "What did I do wrong?" He glared at me. "Can't you just give her a break? So what if the dishes aren't spotless? It's not gonna kill you." After that, Clara stopped talking to me. The air in our house turned heavy, and Tom was exhausted, torn between his mom and me. Clara banned Tom from cooking breakfast and took over the kitchen herself. She'd watch him eat with a satisfied smile, then shoot me a look that screamed, "You're failing as a wife." To dodge the tension, I started grabbing a yogurt on my way to work. One night, Tom asked, his voice low, "Julie, are you skipping breakfast because you think Mom's cooking isn't clean?" I rolled over, my back to him, tears stinging my eyes. He sighed, "Julie, please, just eat at home. For me." So I did, sitting stiffly at the table each morning, forcing down bites of Clara's cooking. One morning, as I sipped her oatmeal, nausea hit me like a freight train. My stomach churned, and I barely made it to the bathroom before everything came up. Gasping for air, I heard Clara wailing in the kitchen, her voice thick with hurt. Tom stood in the doorway, his eyes blazing with anger. I tried to explain, but no words came. It wasn't on purpose, I couldn't control it, that sparked our first real fight. Clara watched us scream at each other, then shuffled out the front door. Tom shot me a furious look and ran after her. For 3 days, he didn't come home or call. I was livid. Since Clara moved in, I'd bent over backward to make her feel welcome, and this was my reward? But the nausea didn't stop. I couldn't keep food down, and my mood tanked. A coworker noticed my pale face and urged me to see a doctor. The diagnosis? I was pregnant. Suddenly, that morning's vomiting made sense. Joy mixed with frustration. Why hadn't Tom or Clara, who'd been through childbirth herself, considered this? At the hospital entrance, I spotted Tom. 3 days apart had left him gaunt, his eyes hollow. I almost walked away, but his broken expression stopped me. I called his name. He looked up, but his gaze was cold, filled with a hatred that cut me to the bone. I told myself not to look back, hailed a taxi, and climbed in. I wanted to scream, "Tom, I'm carrying your baby," and feel him spin me in his arms. Instead, tears streamed down my face as the cab pulled away. How had one fight shattered our love so completely? Back home, I curled up in bed, haunted by Tom's icy stare. That night, I heard drawers opening. Flipping on the light, I saw Tom, his face streaked with tears, grabbing money and our savings book. He didn't acknowledge me, just took what he needed and left. I laughed bitterly, love and money, neatly divided. Tears fell, but I didn't stop them. The next day, I skipped work, determined to find Tom and clear the air. At his office, his secretary gave me a strange look. Tom's mom was in a car accident. She's in the hospital. My heart stopped. I raced to the hospital, but when I found Tom, Clara was gone. His face was stone, and he wouldn't meet my eyes. I stared at Clara's pale, lifeless body. Tears pouring down my face. How had it come to this? Even at her funeral, Tom didn't speak to me. Every glance he spared was laced with blame. Later, I pieced together what happened. After our fight, Clara fled the house, heading for the bus station to return to her hometown. Tom chased her, but she moved faster, desperate to escape. Crossing the street, she didn't see the bus that struck her. In Tom's mind, I was to blame. If I hadn't thrown up, if we hadn't fought, if only. To him, I'd as good as killed his mother. Tom moved into Clara's room, coming home late, reeking of whiskey. Guilt and pride choked me. I wanted to tell him about the baby, to explain everything, but his cold eyes silenced me. I'd rather he yelled or hit me than this unbearable distance. Days blurred into weeks. One evening, passing a diner, I saw Tom through the window, gently brushing a young woman's hair. My heart shattered. I walked in, stood before him, and stared. He stared back, unflinching. The woman shifted uncomfortably, but Tom pressed her to stay. My pulse pounded, each beat pulling me closer to collapse. I turned and left. If I stayed, I'd lose not just myself but the baby too. That night, Tom didn't come home. His absence screamed the truth. With Clara's death, our love had died too. He stopped coming home altogether, only sneaking in to grab clothes. I stopped trying to explain. I lived alone, went to prenatal checkups alone. Seeing other husbands doting on their pregnant wives broke me. A coworker suggested an abortion, but I refused. This baby was my redemption, a way to honor Clara's memory. One day, I came home to find Tom in the living room, cigarette smoke curling around him. A paper sat on the coffee table, divorce papers. I knew without looking. I'd learned to stay calm in his absence. Wait a sec, I said, shedding my coat. I'll sign. His eyes flickered with something, regret. Maybe, but he said nothing. I signed the paper without reading it, slid it back, and met his gaze. He noticed my swollen belly and whispered, "Julie, you're pregnant?" It was the first thing he'd said to me since Clara's accident. Tears flooded my cheeks. "Yeah," I choked out, "but it's fine. You can go." He didn't. In the dark, we stared at each other. He pulled me close, his tears soaking the sheets. But too much had broken between us, too far gone to mend. Tom kept saying, "I'm sorry," but I couldn't forgive him. That day in the diner, his cold stare had scarred me for life. We'd both wounded each other, me unintentionally, him with purpose. My heart was ice, except when I thought of the baby. I rejected his gifts, his words, his presence. When he tried sleeping in our bed, I moved to the couch. He retreated to Clara's room. Sometimes, I heard him groan in the night, a trick he used to pull when we fought. Back then, I'd rush to his side, worried. Now, I stayed still. Love had fueled my concern. Without it, I had nothing left. As my due date neared, Tom filled Clara's room with baby gear, diapers, toys, even children's books. He was trying to reach me. But I was numb. He spent hours typing on his computer, probably chasing online flings. It didn't matter. One spring night, labor hit hard. I screamed, and Tom burst in, ready, as if he'd been waiting. He carried me downstairs, flagged a cab, and held my hand, wiping sweat from my brow. At the hospital, he piggybacked me to the maternity ward. On his warm, frail back, a thought struck me: will anyone ever love me like this again? He watched me enter the delivery room, and I gave him a fleeting, warm glance. After the birth, he looked at me and our son, tears in his eyes, smiling. I touched his hand. Then, slowly, he collapsed. I screamed his name, but he didn't open his eyes. I thought I'd cried my last tears for Tom. But the pain tore me apart. The doctor revealed Tom had late-stage liver cancer, diagnosed 5 months earlier. He'd held on this long, a miracle. I ignored the nurses, ran home, and opened his laptop. My heart stopped. His groans weren't fake. He'd been in agony, and I'd dismissed it. On his computer were 200,000 words for our son. "I fought to see you, to meet you before I fell. It was my greatest wish. I've written the challenges you might face, so you can turn to my words when you need me. Writing this, I feel I've walked part of your life with you. Love your mom, she's suffered so much, and she loves you more than anything, just as I do." He'd mapped out advice for every milestone: kindergarten, high school, college, love. He left me a letter too: "Marrying you was my greatest joy. Forgive my mistakes, my secrecy about my illness. I wanted you strong for our son. If you're crying, you've forgiven me. I'm smiling, grateful for your love. I've labeled gifts for our son, please give them to him each year." Back at the hospital, Tom was fading. I laid our son beside him. "Open your eyes, smile," I whispered. "Let him remember you." He did, faintly. Our baby squirmed in his arms. I snapped photos, tears streaming, capturing that final, fleeting warmth.